Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. I know that we have big problems in the world right now. Even before the pandemic, we had big problems: poverty, sickness, armed conflict, and more. And the pandemic made matters exponentially worse. There are more problems than solutions, and there are more questions than answers. But we know one thing for sure, and that is no matter what the problem, no matter what the question, socialism is never the solution and socialism is never the answer. Do you want to talk about socialism? Socialism never works. I think socialism is a failure. I think we should never try it anymore, anywhere in the world. Yet we find that there are some folks who love socialism in spite of how it has failed miserably wherever it has been tried. Even today, there are proponents of socialism, people who believe it would somehow work if you add the word democratic in front of it and call it democratic socialism. Well, socialism is socialism, and it always fails. Does not matter how you package it, does not matter how you present it in front of people, socialism always fails. I could talk about socialism and how it would destroy the economy for hours. Hours and hours. I could go on and on. But of course, this is a podcast episode and I'm not going to talk for hours here. Rather, I'll speak briefly about a challenge that we are facing today and how socialism would completely fail to address it. The world is going through a pandemic and people are desperately in need of a coronavirus vaccine. We have been told by many experts that finding a vaccine and testing it and approving it takes time, and it might be a while before we have a vaccine. Well, news broke just days ago that a vaccine that Pfizer has been developing has shown to be more than 90% effective in preventing coronavirus in the third stage of clinical trial. That is obviously a great news, and it comes just months after the coronavirus outbreak was officially declared to be a pandemic. The news of a promising vaccine to combat a global pandemic and save human lives, the news right now brings so much relief to the people. The pandemic has caused tremendous damage. And if we can finally have a vaccine, that'll be a sigh of relief for many. Now let's talk about how this vaccine has been made possible. I am not a scientist, so I can't tell you the scientific aspects of it, but I can tell you this. The vaccine has been made possible because of the proper allocation of resources in society. And what do I mean by that? In short, it means that if we lived in a socialist country, we would not have a promise of a vaccine right now. Allocation of resources is the key. We started this discussion by talking about socialism, so let's talk about socialism. What is socialism? In short, it is a doctrine that calls for government control over resources. Under socialism, the state, rather than private individuals, would own means of production and determine the allocation of resources. That's the short version. You can read books after books to understand all aspects of socialism. Socialists value the government more than private individuals. Socialists believe in government control. Individuals with God-given skills and talents are not allowed to have opportunities to grow and to develop their human capital and use it in the most productive way in a socialist society. Because freedom is diminished under socialism. Under socialism, government as an authoritative body would make decisions as to what to produce, how to produce, and when to produce. When faced with a global pandemic, what are some of the things that people look for? I mean, just look at the last few months and let's name a few simple consumer products: masks, gloves, toilet paper, hand sanitizer. All of these are produced by private companies. Government neither determines nor controls the production process. We allow the market, demand and supply, to work. When store shelves ran out of hand sanitizers, distilleries shifted their production to make hand sanitizers. There were companies that started to appear that made masks. There was demand, and market forces worked, and companies started to produce to meet the demand. The reason why society is able to quickly meet demand is because the companies are owned by private entities and allocation of resources is done in the private sector also. If we had to wait for a massive government bureaucracy to make decisions and to sign off on each and every step of the production process for a mask or toilet paper or hand sanitizer, then how long do you think it would take? Now that we need a vaccine, we see that private companies are racing forward to develop one. And as it appears, Pfizer may already have one, and of course it has to be finalized and approved so that it is safe to use, and there's a process for that. But it is the private sector that can make such innovation happen. People with various talents and skills, whether it is to come up with treatments or to make spacecraft or to make clothes or automobiles, you name it, people with various talents find their way to areas of our society where their skills would be valued and put to good use. The society as a whole becomes more productive when people are free and when the government is not controlling the allocation of resources. If we allow government to dictate how to allocate resources and what to produce, and with no motivation for a profit, then there would be no incentive to work hard and no incentive to innovate and no incentive to produce quality products and services. We must respect God-given talents and freedom, and that means we must reject socialism. It is deeply troubling to see that in America, a symbol of hope for mankind, there are people advocating for socialist policies. America is the symbol of hope. And right here in America, it is deeply unfortunate to see that there are people advocating for socialism. They advocate for government takeover of the energy industry, government control over natural resources, government control of means of production. Simply adding the word democratic in front of the word socialism does not change what socialism is. Socialism is a social and economic doctrine that has failed wherever it has been tried, and that's the truth. Socialism never works, never will. Discussion of the vaccine in the face of the pandemic is just one example. Time and time again, human creativity, hard work, talents, knowledge, and skills have helped address threats challenges, and all sorts of difficulties. To allow more opportunities for people to thrive and to grow and to contribute towards America's success, we must reject socialism. Thank you all for listening. I truly appreciate it. If you have any comments, please feel free to share those with me. I will be back again with another episode of Explore and Engage with Anam.